I still remember the morning she told me she needed some time apart, as clearly as if it had happened only hours ago. She was sitting on the edge of our bed, her back straight but her eyes fixed on the sunlight stretching across the wooden floorboards, refusing to meet mine. When she spoke, her voice was steady, almost tender, as though she were asking me to pass the salt rather than shattering the rhythm of our life together. "I just need a little clarity," she whispered, her words smooth and careful. But beneath that calmness was a weight pressing directly into my chest. Space. Clarity. A break. Soft disguises for what I already understood. Goodbye. She promised it would only be for a week, maybe less. Just a pause, she said, a chance to breathe and think. She wanted me to be patient, to support her search for peace. As if that were my duty as a husband. I tried. God, I tried. When she walked out the door with her suitcase in one hand and pressed a faint, almost perfunctory kiss against my cheek, something in me cracked. The silence she left in her wake was unlike any silence I'd ever known. It wasn't restful or soothing, it was suffocating, thick and strange. Every sound seemed amplified in her absence. The drip of the coffee machine, the ticking of the clock, the low hum of the refrigerator. They weren't just background noises anymore. They felt like reminders, mocking me with the emptiness she had carved into the house. Days passed, and in that space, I began to notice things I'd overlooked for years. The lipstick-stained wine glasses by the sink, laundry left half-folded, unopened envelopes piled near the door. They weren't messes, not really. They were traces of her. Proof of how deeply her presence had seeped into my world. And now, stripped of those patterns, life felt hollow, unbalanced, unbearably wide. That morning, as I stood by the window with coffee cooling in my hands, watching the empty street outside, something inside me shifted. She wanted clarity. But why did her search for it have to put my life on hold? Why was I supposed to wait, to keep breathing in limbo, while she decided whether or not I was worth returning to? By midday, I had an answer. I grabbed a small bag, my keys, and walked out. It wasn't impulsive. If anything, it was the most intentional decision I'd made in years. I drove straight to the little apartment I'd been secretly considering for months. It was small, plain, with nothing but bare walls and the faint scent of fresh paint. But it was mine. Entirely mine. That night, I unpacked only the essentials, brewed another pot of coffee, and sat on the couch with the city's restless heartbeat spilling through the windows. At first, it felt strange, even lonely. Yet beneath that loneliness, I felt something else stirring, liberation. No sighs drifting from the kitchen, no footsteps pacing beyond the bedroom door. Only silence. And within that silence, I finally began to hear my own voice again. Later that night, my phone buzzed with a message from her. "Hope you're okay. Thinking of you. Let's talk tomorrow." My thumb hovered over the screen, the old part of me itching to reply quickly, to fill the gap, to reassure her I was still tethered to her. But I didn't. I set the phone down, letting it buzz into the dark, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty about choosing myself. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, it carried me through a flood of realizations. Memories of all the times she'd brushed off my concerns, of how needing space had so often felt more like a command than a plea. I used to believe patience was the highest form of love, that silence meant strength. But that week, silence wasn't hers to impose. It was mine to claim. Each day that followed felt like stitching back pieces of a self I had long abandoned. Mornings spent walking by the river, evenings cooking meals I actually enjoyed eating, nights reading books without interruption. The simple sound of my own breathing felt like an anchor pulling me into myself. And when she finally called, her voice unsteady, she said the words I'd been waiting for years to hear. "I didn't think you'd actually leave." There was a tremor there, a need for reassurance, for me to close the gap she'd created. But I had nothing left to give her. The clarity she had gone chasing after had already found me. My friends noticed before I even admitted it out loud. I laughed more, spoke more freely, even slept more soundly. The invisible weight that had pressed down on me for years had lifted. And with it, my own voice rose back to the surface, steady, sure, alive. By the time she returned, standing in the doorway of our home, her eyes searching for the man she thought would still be waiting, the patient, loyal, hopeful one, she found someone entirely new. I told her softly, without anger but with certainty, that the space she demanded had taught me something too. I could not keep living half alive, waiting for someone else to decide when I was allowed to feel whole. My words were plain truth, not bitterness. She left again that night, her footsteps fading down the hall, and this time I didn't follow. The quiet that settled over the room wasn't heavy anymore. It was clean, like my own. That so-called clarity break she had asked for was never about me. It was about her control, her hesitation, her fear. Yet it had become the doorway to my freedom. I finally understood that real freedom isn't something another person hands to you when they feel generous. It's something you claim for yourself, step by step, choice by choice. And as I sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker against the darkness, I felt it at last. The very thing I'd been waiting for all along. Not her. Not answers. Not even closure. Peace. My peace.